Hi everyone, we're just waiting just a minute so that some people that are in the waiting room should be able to get in, but we'll start the meeting soon. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We'll be starting in a minute. Just sorting out a few things. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the meeting today. We had a little bit about 38 people sign up, but I guess some other people will join us. We're just waiting a little bit. Maybe some people had some technical challenges. So we're waiting a little bit, but I think it's about 12 minutes past. So I think we're going to start now. But welcome, everyone. Yeah, and could we please mute our videos? You can put your video on, but please mute your audio so that we don't have any interference if possible. But yeah, welcome to Inspiring Journeys by Leading Change Africa. Actually, before we start, would love to see in the chat, if you could type in the chat where you're calling in from, so that we just get to know who is in the room. But before we start, I'm just going to mention a little bit about the speaker today, but also this series. So this series is called Inspiring Journeys, and it's an initiative by Leading Change Africa. So Leading Change Africa is a company that it's an organization for Africans, by Africans. We are trying to build the next generation of African leaders. So we're changing African youth into change makers. That's the vision of Leading Change. And we're having these monthly seminars, these monthly meetings called Inspiring Journeys, to be able to share different speakers to you and share different topics so that most people can be inspired, but also we can learn from the journeys of other people. In the end, we can also be inspired to do our own things as well. So if you could just type in the chat where you're calling in from, so that we know who is in the room, that could be amazing. And if you can put on your video as well, that could be amazing, so that maybe our speaker today could get to is in the room mostly. But otherwise, welcome everyone. And without further deliberation, I'm going to introduce our speaker today. So our speaker today, I'm proud to call him a good friend of mine. He was my roommate in college. So I'm very happy that we're starting off this series with a good friend of mine and a very wonderful speaker that I'm looking forward to hear his talk. Just a little bit of bio about Joe Baraka. Joe was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He grew up in Kiangali refugee camp, where he attended school before moving to African Leadership Academy in 2015 for his high school. In 2017, he moved to the US to pursue his undergraduate studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where he graduated with a bachelor's in civil and environmental engineering. Although he currently works as a full-time project engineer for C.G. Schmidt, a commercial and high-rise construction company in the Midwest in the US. Joe is well known for his work with My Home Stars, a nonprofit with a mission of making education accessible to refugee children in Uganda. Following his experience growing up and attending school in Kiangali refugee camp, in 2018, he and a fellow UW alumni, Anson Love, co-founded My Home Stars, a Ugandan-based nonprofit with a mission of making quality education more accessible to refugee school-going children in Uganda. Through their innovative approach of breaking down the education curriculum and gamifying it to learners into modules, Joe and his team have created educational games like the 5 Stars and Your African Quest that have helped thousands of refugee children access learning in a fun and engaging way. Joe strongly believes that for education to be impactful, then learning needs to be fun, and classroom spaces need to be engaging for children to be excited about learning. Joe's passion and work with refugee communities has earned him numerous recognitions, including the Bezos Scholar 2016, the Queen's Young Leaders Award in 2017, Clinton Global Initiative Fellowship in 2021, and TED Fellow in 2022. And recently, he's just named in 2023 a Wisconsin Innovation 25 under 25. His recent TED Talk, the game that is getting children excited about school, delivered last year, has gathered more than 1 million views on the TEDx website, and it is continuing to grow. So I'm very excited to introduce Joe to speak to us today. Before we start, I'm just going to mention about there are some people from the room. We have Katniss from Malawi. We have Faith from Nigeria. We have Moktada from Mali. And so the talk today is going to follow this series. We're going to have about 30 minutes of a talk that Joe is going to deliver about his journey and how he was able to balance school and having an organization, and also now as a full-time employee and balancing an organization back home. And then from then, we're going to have about 20 minutes of questions. And then we'll have about 5 minutes of closing from me to talk a little bit more about some of the programs from Leading Change. But without further ado, I would want to give it to Joe to start with us with the talk. So thank you, Joe. It's your time to speak.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who is in the room. I know it's Saturday and some of you are joining on the African continent, which is a bit late. So it would have been easier for you to sleep, but then you're here. And then for those in the US, I think it's about 12, 11 a.m., depending on where you are. But thank you for being here. And then 2 things for Lusayo. I'm a little bit disappointed that you read the whole speech and bio about me. Lusayo, we went to college together, and so we spent 4 years at UW-Madison as pretty much best friends, and then we were roommates for 2 years. So I was expecting him not to read anything, to just, speak from what he learned from me, but all good. And then the other thing, he read everything about. I feel like we just should go on because what am I going to say after all this? But I think I'm going to try and share with you, I guess, a few things that I think I've been finding helpful. And the other thing I want to mention is I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker or an influencer who has figured it out. Truth be told, I am constantly learning, and if anything, every day is learning for me. There are certain things I haven't figured out, whether it's my full-time job at CG Schmidt, where I'm working as a project engineer, or even my Homestars, where I'm trying to continuously build this nonprofit and I guess kind of small baby of mine. There are very many things I haven't figured out. And then, of course, when you combine both of them, a lot of things that I'm constantly thinking about and trying to experiment. So I guess as I speak and as I share with you, hopefully I don't sound like someone who has figured it out and I'm giving you answers. No, I think I'm trying to share my story so that you can maybe pick 1 or 2 things that maybe you might experiment or you might try out and then see how it works. So like Lusayo mentioned, I came to UW-Madison and since high school, actually, before UW-Madison, I went to high school in South Africa. And I want to start from there because I feel like that's where pretty much things most of the things that I'm doing now, it's kind of where it originated or where I found my foundation. So I want to start from the African Leadership Academy. It's a high school in South Africa that takes students, can I say, across the African continent, and then they go to the high school for 2 years to prepare for college, but also learning things about entrepreneurship and leadership with a bigger picture of becoming, the next generation of African leaders. So in a way, in one way or the other, I feel like I'm back at the African Leadership Academy because pretty much what Leading Change is doing is trying to develop also this idea of the next generation of young leaders on the African continent. So again, a privilege to be here, and I feel like I'm back to my high school. So why do I bring back my high school, the African Leadership Academy? Partly because um, that's where I started actually the idea of, I guess this is where I got the idea of, how can we make learning fun and more engaging for children? Like Lusayo mentioned, I grew up in a refugee camp, and a refugee camp, which is actually similar to many villages on the African continent. And there are two things I feel like were similar either in villages that I've seen on the African continent in the refugee camp. One, most of the children show up and there's no food at school. So that means kids will go to class and some of them are hungry. And then two, learning is boring, whereby most of the schools in villages, even in cities actually, they rely on teachers as the main form of learning. So that means kids to some extent are cramming information they're learning, they're not understanding, but they're cramming to pass exams. And when you combine this idea of you're trying to cram school and then you are hungry, it kind of doesn't go together. Cramming something and trying to work hard on something when you're hungry doesn't go together. And then so when I was thinking about these two things, how do you make learning more fun and engaging for children? The one thing that came to my mind was, when you look at kids, one of the things they enjoy is playing and really having fun. It doesn't matter where you're from. If I'm from the US, if I'm from Mozambique, if I'm from Ghana, and then I go to a village in Malawi, if I have something that will make a child have fun, within 1 minute, I will steal their attention. I can give them that something and they'll start playing with it and they'll be best friends. So to me, the idea that if we can find a way to make learning more playful, more fun, then we could really make, can I say, education more attractive for these young children. And that's where the idea of games came in. And the simple idea at my home that we're working on is really, breaking down the education curriculum. We're not changing the curriculum, but we're making it more fun in form of developing board games. So that's the one thing I wanted to explain. That was founded on back at the African Leadership Academy. And then when I came to college, I continued to do it, which is the next point I want to talk about, I guess. So when I came to college, one of the things that was a little bit tricky was, of course, balancing, can I say, school and then trying to continue this work of my home stars. Because as you can imagine, when I was in high school, starting this project of games and making learning fun, of course, I was experimenting. I hadn't figured out anything necessarily. And so one of the things that was hard, of course, was it was kind of trying to find the balance between continuing my academics, doing well in school, and then of course growing my home stars. And I think I would say maybe like 5 things that I feel like were very helpful as I continue to do my education. And then also, can I say, pushing on my home stars. And those things I feel like have been a constant even when I graduated from college and then started my full-time job. And the first thing I thought I would share with you was from the beginning, I feel like, I guess I've always had, this is something I've always shared with my friends, like Kusaya would know. It's finding or having a strong why as to why you're doing what you're doing. And the strong why, I guess, for me, running my home stars was always, if I can give back to my community or help the next child be able to get an education, that would mean a lot to me. So that was my why from the beginning. And then the other thing that I would say that was really very helpful was, can I say, the idea of, I don't know exactly how to put this, but the idea of optimism. And when I was actually looking at optimism, it's the idea that you're hopeful and you have confidence that the future will look much better. And so for me, it was, yes, school is hard. Yes, school is challenging, but having that hope and that belief that if I keep working on this and if I keep trying my best, hopefully we can create a positive change. And I think from the work that we've been doing with my home stars, we've been seeing some of the improvements that the kids are making, some of the things we've been able to improve for the teachers and how they teach children in the refugee camp. And why I share this is because, like, knowing when you're working on something and realizing that having a feeling like you won't have any good results or you won't see any positive thing about it, I think it can be very demotivating. So I share this because I feel like it has really been a huge factor for me in terms of, can I say, continuing to work on my homestars and then also running my full-time job. I've really always had this strong conviction and hope that what we are doing is going to create change. And sometimes you will see the change, sometimes you see the positive results, and sometimes you won't. But I think either way, having that sense of, can I say, hopefulness and confidence can really take you a long way because it comes fast. Having that belief comes fast because then you need to do the work and then hopefully you see the results. So number one, having a strong why, which I briefly shared about. I've always wanted to really make a huge difference in my community. And then number two, having this idea of optimism and hope that the future is going to be much better have been two of the things that have helped me. And then the third one is, I think to some extent, consistency is, can I say, underrated. Consistency, and for me, when I think about that, it's the idea even when you're not seeing results. I think in most cases, it's easy to be, can I say, to be impatient when you start something and the first week you don't see the results, the first month you don't see anything, the first year you don't see anything. It can be very hard. And I think for me, that has been huge. Consistency, even when you don't see the results, staying at it and doing it every day and then trying multiple things and sometimes, yeah, taking a break when things are not working, taking a break and pausing and recharging and then coming back. But I think consistency has been something that has really, can I say, enabled me to, whether it was back in college to ran my homes as I did school and then when I graduated. Because one thing I want to admit is the fact that sometimes even at my full-time job at CG Schmidt, sometimes like I work is a lot, and so sometimes I have to choose between, my home stars, how I have to spend my time on that, and then of course my full-time job. And I can be honest with you, to some extent, like my full-time job takes more time and stuff like that. But one thing I've tried not to compromise is consistency. The idea that I'll come out at it, I'll take a break today or maybe this week, and then next week I'll be back is something that I've found to be very, very helpful. Even if I look back when I was in school, sometimes, yeah, there are weeks when you had like the finals, you have exams and there are deadlines you have to meet, whether it was assignments or can I say big papers to finish in college. Those days I didn't work on my home stars necessarily. But again, the idea of reminding myself that, hey, this week I'm busy, but next week I have to get back on this and do what I'm supposed to do has been something that has been very helpful. And I share, I guess, this idea of consistent, and I'm trying to spend as much time as I can because I feel like in many cases we all can agree that one time, like a certain part of your life, whether it's like your family, whether it's like given deadline you have to meet, we require more time in terms of, can I say, you giving it more attention. And so that means something else you're doing somewhere will have to be put on pause. But I think one thing I can not emphasize it enough is the idea that don't forget that you need to come back and I guess keep doing what you are doing, whether it's like a nonprofit, a business, or what. So I guess I'll repeat the three things. One, strong why, and then optimism, and then consistency. And then the fourth thing I guess I wanted to talk about is the person who is talking is really throwing me off. Let's take a pause quickly. All right.
Do you think you can immediately like automatically mute their microphone?
Yeah, I'm trying. I think I'm having a little bit of trouble. I think it's just they're muted now.
Yeah, I think they're
You
muted.
can
Awesome.
continue, Joe.
All right, we'll keep loading. Okay. And then, so the other thing, I guess, so I've talked about three things, having a strong why and reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And then having optimism, that hopefulness that things are going to be better and things will continue to actually get better. And then consistency. The first thing, I think, this one, many can disagree with me, but I am a believer and I believe in luck, to be honest. And make no mistake, I think I've been very, very lucky. It's something maybe I don't talk about that much. I mean, the fact that in 2015, I got an opportunity to go to the African Leadership Academy The academy is very competitive. I think at the time I went there, the academy used to take about 100 kids per year. And there are very many students across the African continent who are smart, who are knowledgeable, who are better leaders that applied and didn't get in. And I was lucky. I got to the African Leadership Academy. I mean, thinking even past the African Leadership Academy, we all know, many of us, I'm sure on the call, were part of the people who applied to go to college. You know, applying to college was like another lottery. The fact that I got in one of like the best universities in the US, the UW-Madison campus, and on a full-time scholarship that was able to pay for my tuition. To me, that's not, I don't take that for granted. I think that's luck. And then I guess the third one I can think about is the fact that right now I'm working with a company that is a business, but like the leadership understands that I have a nonprofit that I run, and they've never questioned me being able to do my full-time role, and they are okay and they actually support my job. To me, I don't take that for granted. It's easy to take these things for granted, but for me, I think I've been lucky, whether it's the places I've been to, the opportunities I've been given, and the people I've been able to meet. I mean, like people like Lusayo, I learn a lot from Lusayo. And, you know, people like Estella is on the call, is one of the students that I actually had the chance to meet at the African Leadership Academy. It attracts some of the smartest people. And so the fact that I've been able to have like, can I say, strong network of people I can learn from, colleagues I can, you know, bounce ideas from, like the 5 stars, the game that we are developing and that we use at my home stars. A lot of feedback, I got it from like some of my classmates at the African Leadership Academy, a lot of my classmates at university, and even like right now, one of my co-founders, Anson, who is not here, is, you know, it's luck finding someone who is very passionate about something you're doing. Because like Anson, for example, is from Malaysia, and here he is dedicating most of his time doing work in Uganda. It's, to me, I count that as being lucky, and, you know, things just kind of aligning together, and then just, can I say, things working in your favor. So I include luck as one of the things, I guess, that has really helped me to continue to do what I'm doing, whether it's the schools I got into, the work that I'm doing that allows me to do all the things. Because I've seen a lot of people, like in college or in high school, they have businesses, but sometimes they're doing a business, and then, yeah, when they get a full-time job, they can't do it anymore. And I don't blame them. And I don't question why sometimes they have to step it aside. Sometimes full-time job can be very, can I say, demanding, that you don't have any time anymore for yourself, for your full-time, and then for the non-profit or the other thing that you're trying to do on the side. So I want us to consider this idea that sometimes you need luck to be able to do what you're doing. And for me, I count myself lucky to have had the opportunities I've had, the spaces I've been, and then the people I've met. It's really luck to some extent. And then number 5, and the last one, I think one of the things that has really helped me, in addition to the 4 that I shared, is the idea of being grateful. I try to be grateful as much as I can. I've talked with Rosario 2 years ago, and we were roommates. There are very many things as human beings that we can complain about, but I think it makes a huge difference when you take a step back and actually think about, or reflect on how your life could have changed if things could have gone a different way. And I think if you're able to realize that there are certain things that have really gone so well, I think it makes, at least for me, it humbles me, and I'm very, very grateful. And this idea of being grateful, I guess it's one of the things that even when things are hard, I kind of turn back to. I'm like, well, I need to keep doing this because I've been lucky, and I am in such a great, can I say, I'm very privileged where I am at, that I need to keep doing what I'm doing, whether it's like working hard at my work. I'll get into that briefly here, but like, for example, two examples I guess I'm thinking about in my mind right now is, I am grateful, for example, like I have a full-time job I have at CG Schmidt. And for me, what that means is I'm showing up. And if it means me putting in 10 hours, I put in 10 hours. It's not like, oh, I put in 8 hours and then they pay me 8 hours. No, I am very lucky that I'm a project engineer and I'm given that responsibility to do that, and I will do the best job I can. You know, whether it's my home stars, like most of the time I actually do the work in the evenings after work, and then early mornings, and then on the weekends. And today, if I left my home stars and quit, no one would come knocking to my door that, hey, why are you not doing my home stars? No one. But I think part of me is a way to really say thank you to the people that have supported me, to the opportunities that I've received, and I guess like to the community where I come from. So to me, this idea of gratitude and being grateful and actually being able to reflect back on the journey you've been on and how lucky and how fortunate you are, I think has been very big for me. And I share this because I also feel like each one of us on this call, there's no doubt that we can look back on our life and can be like, I am very lucky to be where I'm at. I mean, the fact that you're on this Zoom call, I grew up from the village and I never imagined having a laptop. And here I am. I have light, I have internet, and I'm talking to you all in Malawi, in Mozambique, in the US. Small things. I think we are all lucky. You know, the fact that we have like social media, we can speak English. That is a language that many people can understand. Because if it was not for English, I would probably not be not communicating to you, Estelle. I'll not be communicating to you, Lusai, because I can't speak Chichewa. Other people on the call, I can't speak the other languages, but I mean the other sides of English, why we might disagree on English, but it's a beautiful thing that we can actually communicate together. So for me, those small things, like looking back at your life and asking, where am I lucky and where am I fortunate and how can I use that, to me has really been very, very big. Because I mean, I grew up in the refugee camp, and I would be lying to you that if I told you that I imagined going to South Africa for high school, coming to the United States and working for an engineering company in the US, I would be lying to you. And hopefully I never lie about that. So to me, being able to reflect back on my life has been very huge and a big motivation to show up in the best way I can at my full-time job. And then also the other time that I have, to use it in the best way I can, which is giving back, if I can put it simply like that. So I guess those are the 5 things that I think personally have helped me to land both my home stars, which is the nonprofit, and then my full-time job at CG Schmidt. Understanding my why and having a strong why, and then having optimism or reminding myself that, hey, there's hope and there's the future that could be brighter if I keep working on this. And then consistency. And my big point on this one, I think consistency is underrated. There's so much we can achieve if we stick to something and we keep working on it. And yes, you may not see results in 1 week, 1 month, even 1 year, but I think eventually you would get some results. And sometimes the results is not making an impact on other people. Sometimes the results is making an impact on yourself. Because I can tell you there's a lot I've learned trying to juggle both my full-time job and then my nonprofit, my home stars. And then number 4, luck. There's huge to that. And then number 5, being grateful and reminding yourself to reflect and practice gratitude. And then I guess as I close, there's one thing I think I wanted to almost like wrap this up, which I actually talked about. And I guess the biggest inspiration actually is almost, for me in my mind, I see it as, can I say, being selfish. It depends on how you see it. I say selfish because when I'm doing stuff at my home stars, I am getting better. Whether it's like, I mean, here as we speak, to me, like this morning when I was preparing for this, it's an opportunity for me to get better at my public speaking, right? We can say it like that. Sometimes someone can be scared about it or can be like, oh, it's a waste of my time. But for me, I see it as an opportunity to get better at how I do things, whether it's like my, can I say, full-time job at CG Schmidt, me being able to do the best I can. If it's 10 hours, I put in 10 hours. It's, to me, I see it as benefiting me, and part of it is selfish. I guess personal selfishness. It's kind of, it sounds like negative, but part of it is me being selfish about, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm sure I'm going to get better and things of that kind. And then I think the idea that eventually, and I guess the bigger picture for me as I continue to do this, I think it's the idea that I can hopefully become a well-rounded person, because I believe that as I'm doing my part-time job, as I'm doing things at CG Schmidt, I don't think someone who is just doing, like, say, I don't think the end result would be the same if I was just doing my full-time job. And I don't think that actually the results would be the same if I chose to do my home stars. So again, this is what for me in my mind, it's almost like being selfish, whereby if I can improve myself to almost be good at these other skills that are soft as I'm running my home stars, be good at my technical skills as an engineer. To me, it's like, it's almost like selfish reasons. I guess, like, for the lack of better words, it's like selfish reason whereby it always comes back to me. I am getting better. Yes, I'm making an impact, which is amazing, but also I'm also getting better. And I think, quote unquote, that selfish inspiration and ambition, to me, it's worth, can I say, fighting for or putting in the hours to be able to continuously get better. And I guess my wish for you all is that hopefully you can be selfish and hopefully you can be willing, can I say, to take on more challenges, because there are always opportunities, but sometimes there are challenges we have to overcome. But hopefully that's a motivation that, hey, as I'm doing this, as I'm working on this, I'll make an impact, but also this is going to impact me at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that's what I had prepared for you all. I want to leave some time to make sure that we can ask questions, and I probably will try to add more things as we approach questions. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And yeah, no, thank you for this, for the wonderful talk. And yeah, if we could just clap hands for Joe for the wonderful talk. If we can do those emojis or something like that, I think that'll be really great. But yeah, no, I think I really like the fact that you're very real, and you touched on issues that are really tangible in terms of someone even making an action point. I like the fact that you also outright say that you don't want to be a motivational speaker or someone who seem like they have already figured it out. Sometimes uh, that's that's one of the things that we really want to encourage on the score. It's like, we're not getting people that are accomplished. That's why we're calling it inspiring journeys. Like, we are putting you as someone who is still on a journey. Your journey has been inspiring, but it's still continuing to grow, and you're still growing as a person and everything. And through some of the things that you've experienced, you can be able to share. So everyone on the meeting, you know, uh, don't feel like, I've also not accomplished anything. And as we're going into questions, let's take that into mind to say that, okay, maybe there's something that you're struggling with, or something that you feel like maybe Joe didn't touch on. So please highlight that, so that Joe can also share his tangible experience, so that as you are also moving through your journey, it can also be improved. So having that far, I'm going to open it up the floor for questions. So please raise your hand, and then I'm going to call on you to unmute yourself and ask a question. You can also type your question in the chat, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read the question, your question in the chat. But so far, you can raise your hand, and I can um, and tell you to unmute to ask your question, or you can type in the chat. I'm gonna open up for questions now. All right, maybe as people are preparing to ask questions, Joe, I had a quick question of mine. I really like the idea of the fact that you mentioned about consistency. Um, have being someone that I've seen you, from at least 2017 up to this time, and every time I know that you have mentioned something about my homestars in every conversation that we've done. So I really know that you're someone who has been consistent about that. But one of the top maybe areas that I've seen you do, and I would want you maybe to also mention and maybe highlight a little bit, is the issue of self-discipline. Like, I know it takes a lot of self-discipline, for someone to be able to do what you do. in terms of dividing time for like a full-time job and like, doing something that is maybe far away from Uganda. Like you're not even in the same country running the business. You're in a different country. You're trying to do things there. So like the discipline of just the time management aspect of it, and even just setting up goals for yourself to hit to make sure that you are chasing those. Could you just like mention if those are some of the things that you've used or like done to make sure that you're self-disciplined, but also maybe you've set goals for yourself to say that I would, if you could highlight maybe a little bit more on that aspect as we're waiting for other people to ask questions.
All right, so that's a very, very good question and a hard one. And my exact answer is I don't think I'll figure it out, to be honest. Because I feel like it's a tough one. I mean, talk about goals. I do set goals, but I can tell you I miss my goals all the time. I mean, like this year I can tell you, I've realized I'm actually good with my professional job goals, like things I said to, I've been huge on, can I say, certain skills I want to learn at my job. That one has been much, much better. School was better. For my home stars, it's a little bit tricky, and I don't know why. Like right now, I can tell you a lot of goals I feel like my team and I have set and haven't achieved them. And honestly, I feel like part of it is me, because I guess like to some extent, I hold the bigger role of like, maybe it's like me not giving them the direction. So I feel like personal as a person, I miss my goals, can I say, not all the time. But my answer is I don't think I've figured out the idea of discipline and the idea of time management. But I think it still comes to this idea of consistency. What do you do when, because there are very many factors actually, when you set a goal and why you don't achieve it, there's maybe things not going your way and how you imagined, but I think you cannot substitute that with consistency. The idea that you still come back at it and then like keep moving forward. So I don't think I have, can I say, practical answers on how to stay disciplined. But I think if you can be consistent, if actually anything, maybe I can put it like this. To me, I think cultivating the culture of consistency and reminding yourself to always push through something and coming back to it, to me, it's better than, can I say, setting goals and achieving your goals. Because what happens, it's all good. It feels amazing when, of course, you set for something and then achieve it. But what happens if you set for something and then you don't achieve it? The only savior in my mind is actually if you have that culture and that habit of reminding yourself that, hey, yes, we might have noted this goal, but I need to come back at it and then chase it. To me, it's more powerful than, can I say, hitting your goals and remaining disciplined. And again, I feel like in some extent they are kind of intertwined, but I guess I've been huge on consistency rather than setting my goals and necessarily hitting them all the time. Yes, I do, but I don't think I have a practical answer on how to stay disciplined, if I can put it like that. So I don't think I have a good answer for that, to be honest. And maybe
I think you're, yeah.
and maybe the other thing that just coming to my mind is the other way to maybe stay disciplined could be, at least for me, that has been, maybe this could be a practical one, is having good, can I say, accountable friends and people, I guess, plainly put, having friends that can influence you. I feel like most of my friends have been people that I can rub off good ideas and then they will help me and they'll hold me accountable. Maybe that's one way that I feel like has been very helpful. Like, for example, like Anson, my colleague, has really been, can I say, big on, if we start going to do something, he keeps me accountable. And I think that has been very, very helpful. So maybe having friends that can hold you accountable and friends that you can rub ideas off of, and then taking some of their feedback probably has been one of the things that has been able to keep me disciplined and, can I say, managing time well, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think that's a perfect answer. I mean, as I mentioned, like it's a journey. I
Yep.
don't expect you to have everything figured out. So in terms of you also struggling in terms of that, that's also good. That's why I wanted to touch on it. As someone who has achieved a lot from what you've already achieved as well, it's good to know, there are also other things that you're still working on in terms of that. But I really like your last point about accountability. I think sometimes this is a factor that people really overlook in a way, because you can't do everything alone. So like sometimes when you put a goal and it's just within yourself, it's very hard to be like, I'll do it tomorrow. But then when you've told your friends about it and they know you're going to do it, well, they're going to ask you tomorrow, did you do that? And then they're like, okay, to prevent that kind of like friction, you probably do it as well. Does anyone have a question? All right, Estella, you've raised your hand. Can you go?
I do have questions, but I will start with one. Thank you so much, Joel, for sharing your story. I'm grateful for that. And also, I'm grateful to have a water bottle, something that's back when you're at home, you never think about. Anyways, going to the question, you have shared about having people that can support you, and also having different techniques in terms of having tools that consistency is one of them, and different ones, the 5 steps that you shared. And the question that I have is focused on people at home that oftentimes they are supporting us to actually in the field work with the project, the people that face most of challenges. And we know Africa, we know the world, there is corruption. And when we work with projects, we have to work with money, work with donations. So my question is, did you face any challenges financially and connected with trust with people at home working in the project? How did you navigate that, and how will you advise us navigating that?
Yeah, Stella, that's a very good question, and I wasn't expecting that one. Yes, I have. Yes, I have, because I mean, since 2016, I pretty much have been, I've been in school and then full-time job, and then so I go home once in a while. So pretty much as I'm, can I say, the co-founder of my Homestars, and I'm kind of the brain behind the nonprofit, the actual work, I have like a team that I work with back in Uganda that deliver the actual work on ground. And yes, there has been some instances whereby instead of spending my time improving the program and improving the idea, I've spent time on meetings with people, quarreling sometimes. I don't quarrel often, but when I quarrel, it's very ugly. So I've spent some time quarreling with them because they misused, can I say, either they didn't like use the funds the way they were supposed to be used, or they are just like not. I've always been huge on every single dollar that we receive, especially the fact that this is money that's donated. And money that's donated, I think sometimes people think people just have enough money to give. No, someone had worked for that money and they've given it to you and they've entrusted it with you so that you can make the best out of it. So I've been huge on making sure that every single dollar that we receive actually gets used in the best way possible. So sometimes I feel like people I've had on the team in the past didn't fully understand that, whether it's like how the program was delivered and making sure that we can get the best out of every single dollar we receive. Sometimes they misunderstood that. And I've had one instance actually whereby someone misused funds and we had to fire him. I have fired someone, which was kind of a little bit weird because I thought they fully understood what we're all about, but then later I came to understand that they had misused some of the funds. Strategies, honestly, the one that has been big for me is, of course, doing your homework in terms of trying to understand the person you're going to work with and probably trying to understand their background. Can you trust them? In most cases, if you're able to find someone and then talk to their friends, talk to someone they've worked with, they will give you their background. And from that, you can get that, hey, maybe this is someone I can work with. And I think this idea of trying to gauge someone and trying to do background check, it just helps with time. So what I've done, for example, is have someone maybe come volunteer with us and then keep, can I say, giving them more responsibilities. Because like the first instant I had at first, I actually think I was too quick to trust someone and too quick to entrust someone with responsibilities. And later on, I came to realize like, they were not necessarily fit for that. They were good at certain areas actually in the organization, but just when it came to finances, I think it was kind of a weakness on their side. And then, so I guess part of it is giving it time and then doing your homework and then trying it and then giving it time with multiple steps until someone almost earns their, can I say, earns their right to be in a given position, especially finances, and their right to actually be able to hold the organization money. And yeah, the other one is you will fail. And I think give yourself grace when such things happen, as long as you are not trying to misuse people's funds. At least for me, that's where it comes from. As long as I'm trying to help my team on a daily basis to put the money to the best use that we can, I think it's fine. But yeah, you will fail once in a while. Only time will tell. Trying over and over again, and then seeing how it works. But yeah, you will fail at some point, especially when you're just sending money that side. You will at some point. You will at some point.
Thank you so much, because I feel like for me, I had experience working with family members because we did build a school together, so it's easy to navigate. But when you work with people that you haven't known, and I mean, if you send $100 in Mozambique is a lot, people can be shocked. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Maybe we can take one more since time is sort of running out. Anyone with a question before we close this out? Deborah.
Thank you, Lucio. Sorry about that. My name is Deborah. I'm from Burkina Faso, and I was wondering if you could share with us your biggest challenge in bringing the idea of
My Homestars?
Your project
Yep.
together, like besides being and having a full-time job, like what was the biggest challenge into bringing your idea to life?
Yeah, thank you so much, Deborah. That's a very good question. And actually, this is the plus, but my roommate back in high school is from Burkina Faso. So I know a little bit about the capital city, or Gadugu. I don't know if I can pronounce it, and part of the country. But yeah, my roommate was from Burkina Faso.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That was one of the beauty of going to area. You get to meet all these
It's
people
awesome.
on the continent.
Definitely.
So yeah, on your question about what has been hard, let me see. There has been a lot of, I guess, things that have been hard, but I think the hard one has been, I guess, I don't think I'm the most patient person, even though I'm consistent. Sometimes, and I think many of us can testify that, yeah, sometimes when we're working on something that we're excited about, we want to see it come to life really fast. We want to see the results. So I think along the way, I think one of the things I've struggled with is the fact that, things are not going as fast as they need to go. And then sometimes I get frustrated when I feel like we have a very good plan with my organization and we don't have money. My family is not rich. So that means like I have to fundraise, I have to do competition to get funding. So sometimes I find it very hard when we have a good plan. I think we have a good plan. We have things in place to deliver a project, and then say we don't get funding. And then of course, some of these things, what can be hard is I'm also young. Like sometimes it's things I don't exactly where to take the organization, like Esther was talking about this idea of like trust. Like for example, I would love like one of my co-founders, for example, to be from Uganda. Right now my co-founder is from Malaysia. We are all like in the US. I would love to have one of our co-founders, can I say, be on ground in Uganda. But then there's this idea of I need to take my time to find that right person. Because like it's a very to me, how I see it, this person on ground is really important. They can either make an organization or they can break it. And I feel like part of it, I've always thought like my home stars, we can do more. You know, there's a lot that we've accomplished, but like I've always thought that we can do more. And I feel like not having this, can I say, focal person on the ground who is huge, because I know we have project managers, but I think having like a co-founder who is fully invested, not just an employee, someone who cares about this 100% or 110%, would really mean a lot. So I feel like I've always been a little bit impatient, and sometimes, can I say, it hasn't stopped me from doing what I'm doing, but it does take my energy sometimes, like feeling frustrated that we're not getting enough funding, yet we have a good plan. And actually, to be honest, I have a very good team on ground. So the fact that sometimes funding takes long, the fact that sometimes because of being young and not, can I say, having all the things figured out and enough experience, sometimes it can be, can I say, a little bit, it kind of brings like negative energy, and I don't know, I guess, how to explain that, but it kind of takes a little bit from me. So I wish there was a better way for me to, can I say, manage that. But some of these things, of course, take time, whereby like finding the person on ground who I can fully trust with this is going to take time. Experience that I need is going to take time. And I guess taking my home stars to bigger heights is going to take time. So I also keep reminding myself that, hey, this is going to take time. The goal is to just keep doing the best I can, and then hopefully the stars will align, if that makes sense. But yeah, patience is a big one. Even myself, I can say I'm not the most patient person, and I think that has sometimes really gotten in my way.
Thank you very much.
All right, I believe we just passed the hour mark, and I think for our first talk, we wanted to keep it at least on the hour mark. So thank you so much, Joe, for the wonderful talk, and this has been amazing. I mean, I learned a lot from the 5 topics that you've mentioned, even though I known you for a long time. But it's really been great, and yeah, I think we've recorded this talk. It's going to be on YouTube, so people can be able to do. But we've posted about you, and I'm pretty sure you're on LinkedIn. So people on this call, feel free to reach out to Joe if there is anything maybe that you would like to learn more about what he does, and also about My Home Stars. You can search up. They have a website and they have the social media pages as well. So please feel free to do that. Joe does also have a TED Talk, so you can also go and search up his TED Talk at the TEDx website, and you should be able to get that. So, but otherwise, let's have one round of applause for Joe before. Yeah, so thank you, Joe, for the really wonderful talk. So yeah, just to close, at Leading Change Africa, we will be having these talks every month. So please reach out to our advertisement in terms of on our social media platforms about the other different inspiring speakers that we're going to be bringing. This is just our first one, and we have other monthly talks that are going to be coming. So yeah, please get the chance to be following us, subscribe to our newsletter if you can have the chance to. Apart from just the business talks, maybe like glad that Joe maybe opened up with more of like a business talk, but Leading Change, we also do have programs where you can get involved. We have our accelerator programs. So we have the Leading Change accelerator programs where we incubate students through the accelerator programs, especially if you're a young entrepreneur with just your idea. We have what we call Leading Change Accelerator Program Blueprint, whereby you go through a series of 8 weeks, and you learn different processes in order to refine your idea, to identify your market, and also to just come up with a proper plan for your business. And then from then on, you can also join LCAP market validation, where you learn more about pitching about your business and launching your business to your customers. So And then we also have LCAP Stock Exchange, where if you want to learn more about the stock exchange, we have a simulator. We have a partnership with Climb USA, and there's a simulator that you can be enrolled in, where you could be given $100,000 of simulator money to be able to invest on the US stock exchange and actually check for a certain period how you can actually do on the US stock exchange. So we do have a lot of those programs available for Leading Change. And please follow us on our social media, Leading Change Africa, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. We have a Twitter account as well. You can follow us there as well. We are on TikTok as well. I think we have, thank you, Awa, for putting all those, I think, on our website and also our Facebook in the chat. So please, if you don't follow us already, please feel free to do that. That's where you can learn more about our resources, about more of these talks going forward. We will have more amazing speakers like Joe going forward. So please don't miss out on such opportunities. But I've been your host, Lusayo, and thanks you again, Joe, and thank you everyone for attending from different parts of the world. Yeah, thank you, and we will post this talk on YouTube. So if you ever missed any minute of this talk, we're going to post this on YouTube for you to be able to access it. And thank you, Estella, for posting Joe's my Homestars website in the chat as well. But otherwise, thank you all, and you have a wonderful morning, evening, wherever you are. And thank you again, Joe. Bye-bye, everyone.